This is the Journey 102 trading journey. It's not a course, it's just a journey of new trader learning how to accomplish trades. I'm going to put away all the knowledge and I'm going to walk through this journey from scratch, essentially taking a journey that's going to show you the steps that I would take if I started from day one, day zero, right? And on YouTube, you'll see in vccryptonation.com, we have day zero. And the Discord, all the videos are there. And I think this is day 3 or something like that. Maybe day 4. So we set up in the Discord an area that's called reward trades, right? And this is where we post the trades that we're going to be doing on our journey. So we had a 30x trade, 10% stop loss. And then during that time, when we evaluated the trade itself while it was still a little bit higher. We did see it right here, this little circle right here. This circle right here is what we would call the entry. So it's up above. Currently. So let me go and put the draw on, but this is how it would look. So this is where the trade is currently at. So we put a limit order for it to come down. And you can see over here how it says limit order. Right there. You see that limit order right there? Now, that limit order is that yellow line that comes across, and you can see that we have an entry point right there. Now, this is supposed to be the entry, and then our stop loss, we're using a 10% stop loss, which probably should be a 20% stop loss, but we're working very tight here because remember, as a new trader, I'm not really using a step-by-step system I've designed yet or something that I'm comfortable with because we are starting from scratch. So I'm doing this journey as if I was a very new person. And you know, people say, what would you do if you had no money and only had $1,000 left? What would you do if you just started trading today? Well, I'm going to do this journey as if that's what I'm doing. So I'm not going to be using my $10,000 bags, my $5,000 bags. I'm going to be trading with hundreds, like paycheck money, I guess, what you guys normally trade with. Because on this journey, I have to evaluate a couple things. Like, how do I really make gains? And how do I build a bag for real? And there's stuff inside there like fees for the exchange. There's losses. So I want to do this as close to being reality, which it is. So I want to do this exactly like a new person. So with that being said, this was our entry, and then this is our stop loss. So our stop loss was down here to this red line down here, which was 8522. Now, what I'm doing is when I find an entry that I want, I'm then deciding to do what we call a stop loss entry, right? Which just simply means this. Where the current stop loss is where I'm going to now move my entry down to so that I can create a new entry, right? And it's going to be at the level where my previous stop loss was at. So I'm moving my entry to the previous stop loss where it was. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm making my entry and stop loss, moving my entry, you can see right here. Let me box this up. You can put it on the screen better for you. So you can see my original entry is here. And then my original stop loss was here. And what I did was I moved my entry to my original stop loss. This is basically called a stop loss entry move, right? So this is part of trading 102, where I'm not interested in getting into a trade. I am only interested in the entry. I'm not chasing trades. I don't care how high they go. I want to master catching the reversal, catching the best entry. I want to pay the least amount to get in. And by being the best at an entry, my gains will always be better than everybody else. So I'm taking this game as if I'm very competitive. So if I was playing the trading game would be me making more money than you. So in this game that I'm playing, when I think about it, I know if I get into better entries than the best people out there, number ones, number twos in the world, I will make more money per trade than number ones, number twos, top 10 in the world. Because I want to end this journey as the greatest trader, the greatest future trader that has ever done futures trading. So I got into this to prove one thing, that I can do trading better than the traders. So I'm going to take you on my journey, and we're going to go out here and we're going to prove that. And that's what I'm going to do. So in my mind, when I think about it, I said to myself, if I get into the trades at the best entry, then I will always make more money than the best current trader out there. And no one will be able to beat me if I master the entry. So this is a move that I call in Trading 102. Trading 102 is the opposite of Trading 101, which is what everybody out there is learning. Trading 102 is a personal journey of reverse engineering, where I'm working from where I'm going to be backwards so that I can understand the steps I need to do to go back to where I want to be. And what I know is I have to have the best entry. So when I map out an entry, I'm starting my journey where I move my entry to the stop loss, and that increases a better lower entry, which I call a greedy entry, which means if I drop, so if my stop loss is 10% and my entry is here, my stop loss is 10% lower, and I move my entry to my stop loss, that means if I do hit that entry and it goes right back up to my original entry, I would have made an extra 10%. And that's winning. So if I have a $10,000 bag and I can get that extra 10% to go from my original entry to stop loss, and I can get stop loss to my entry, that 10% means $1,000. So if I can do 10 trades a week doing that trade, that's 10 grand a week, right? So I have 56, how many weeks in a year? 56. So 10 grand times 56 weeks a year, that's $500,000. I'm pretty sure I'll be the best futures trader in the world because I will 10x that number. At least 5x, because I'll be doing this on at least 5 coins down the road. Okay, but this is what's called a stop loss entry. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes? Perfect. Now, obviously, right now as a new trader, I don't have a $10,000 bag. I have a $300 bag. Hit ones in the chat if that makes sense. So I have to work my way up to 10,000 so I can start banging out the money that I really want to make. So currently, just like most traders, I have a $300 bag, which we can see right here. So what I'm going to do here, you can see the margin. Boom. I'm going to put my little box so I can write for you. You guys can see my margin here. Right here it says $306. And then to the right of that, you can see that I am up 29%. Which basically means this is our current spot. And I'm going to put P&L in there. So I am up $87 on my $300 trade. 30% is my target of where I want to be. Now, my lowest goal is 20%. So what we have to do here is my next move is basically working out how do we close this trade. So here's what I'm going to do. So the first thing that I wanted to happen, just so you guys can kind of see, is I wanted the trade to have a normal pattern, right? And you know that I'm using a strategy, which is a one move up, a second move down, and then the third move up, which is normally my best move. So I want to do a 1, 2, 3 trade. I want to get into the bottom of the 1, and when it pulls back and goes on its 3, that's when I know the move is pretty much done. And then I'm starting to adjust my stop loss, or I'm going to take profits, which would be simply me closing this trade out. Or if I'm feeling, as my skill level gets better, because I'm a new guy here, I should take the 28%. I should set up my take profit at 30%, or, you know, that's where I should be. But if I'm watching the trade, I can do what people like to do, which is follow the trade. And maybe I set it at 60% for now, just in case it spikes up with a big spike and it takes me out and it just pays me. Or we can do what's called a stop loss trail, okay? Which is where we move the stop loss from negative to positive, and we look for areas that we would normally, like you see this big wick here, that would be an area that you can go below. Then you have this bottom wick of this green candle here. So that can be an area that we can get into. And then we have this last wick right here, which is our third area. Okay, so those are the 3 areas of interest for us to move our stop loss. And you can see currently I'm at that second one right here. Okay, now I can move it up a little higher, just below that one there. And what that sets me up for, as you can see right here on the stop loss side, that means I'm going to take a $69 profit if I get stopped out. And then this allows me to leave the trade running. If it does go up even more, I can increase. So like right now, how it's pumping, I can now start moving. I can start chasing this a little bit. But I do want to set a take profit at 60% because my goal was 30. Well, my goal is 20% each trade, 20 to 30. But once I get to 30, I can move my target to 60. And that's my goal, because you can't expect the trade to go up forever. You have to be smart enough to know that taking profits, right? So for instance, if I trail and I'm up $100 and it goes up to 150, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go for 200, and I keep my stop loss at 100, and then it goes up to 180 and then goes back to 100, I essentially gave up $50 up to $80. If you do that 10 times, that right there is equivalent to $800 or a minimum of $500, which is equivalent to 5 trades. So by chasing more money, you know, early in the game right now, because I don't have any skill level to know when I should close, I could be giving up possibly in the next 10 trades that happen like this. I could essentially be losing 5 additional winning trades by allowing the trade to come back down. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to move this up here. And like I said, the better video is going to be on YouTube to watch, but I'm going to go in here and I'm going to set my close, and I'm going to put a limit last price, and I'm going to type in the price a little bit above here, which is, I might get stopped out here, 8590. Okay, there we go. So now we got stopped out while I was piecing that together. Now I go to position history, and you can see at the end of the day, my 30% trade went down to 20%. Okay. And we went from 80 bucks or $90 down to 60. So that 30 bucks, if I just close that 30 10 times in a row, that's 300 bucks. I mean, that's essentially 50%. That's 5 winning trades. So this, as a new trader, I have to put this in the equation, because the only way that I'm going to get to my goal of $10,000 per trade is I have to build my bag. And I need to take all the winnings I can. And I can't sacrifice 30 bucks 10 times in a row, right? Now, we don't know how it's going to play out, because maybe by doing it that way, maybe it jumps up, and maybe I'm so good at finding really good trades. Like down the road, I will have a strategy that I can follow, and I will find really good trades, and I can expect more from my trade. But right now, as a new trader, I don't really have a closing strategy, and I don't really have a target strategy, right, to kind of see where it's going. But I think 30%, let's say this was $10,000, I would have made $3,000 today. And then be realistic with myself. I know that the goal is probably not 30 every trade, but I need to focus on constantly hitting 10 to 20, because if I can hit 20% on 10 grand, that's 2,000. And I can find a way to do that 3 times a day, 2 or 3 times a day, 5 days a week. I mean, that's 10,000 plus. That's $500,000. So that's my goal. So that's why, welcome to the journey of $500,000. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Hit ones in the chat if that makes sense to you guys. So now you see how it's coming down. We would have been better off taking that win. Okay. So now we've walked through a little bit on that side. So now that it's done its 1, 2, 3, we need to figure out, like I said, we're still new in the game. We're still figuring out a trade that we're doing, a structure, a trade strategy. We haven't built that yet. Now we have looked at one video, and we have found ideals of how to 1, 2, 3 to a bottom, and then so forth. So I'm going to add an indicator to my strategy. I've added a bunch of indicators to the chart here, because what new people do is we try out all these new indicators. We have a volume indicator, a Fibonacci indicator. So I think at the end of the day, that's probably those two are going to stay. But I'm going to add an indicator here that I'm going to use for what I call a confirmation, right? Meaning that once I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to go to this one indicator and I'm going to use this one indicator as why I pull the trigger. And that indicator is going to be this indicator right here. And this is indicator. This is the story of a girl. This is called the VC MTE Moon Volume Tracker. So I'm going to use this one indicator as my confirmation of trades that we're going to do. So welcome in, chat. Welcome in. Lloyd, what's up, baby? So George, so do we watch the 1 minute for re-entry? I would. So okay. So like I said, we're new to this, right? So when you're on here, George, we're not really going to get into too much of my knowledge of what I really do, but we're going to walk through this as we were new people, right? So what a new person do here, right? So we're going to figure out what to use here. This is my confirmation. You see that 45-minute bending there? I'm going to go down to the 10-minute, right? So I got to find, first of all, I got to find a time frame, right? So I think we're going to use the time frame 10 minutes to start off with. And don't forget to share the live, guys. Start hitting that button. We need like buttons. We got to get to 100,000 here, man. We got to get motivated. How are you going to make $500,000 if you can't even tap a screen? I mean, you got to start working your mind. This is a hustle. This is skill, baby. All right. So we're going to use the 10-minute time frame. And this is going to be my confirmation. So you see right here, this yellow line is basically volume, right? So money. And this is the price action and money that's coming in and out of a trade. And when it starts to go up, that means there's money coming. And when it reaches this blue line and they intersect and they create what we call a moon, right? And there's a blue moon, which you can see. There's a blue moon over here, which you can see, and then it turns into a green moon. And when that green moon hits, we always get a volume spike in a candle, which can do a pretty good 10% to 20% move for you, which is the strategy that I'm going to be building is basically a 20% or 10% move on a $10,000 bag. So this is what I'm going to build, and this is what I'm going to use to build it. Okay. So now that we have the indicator, let's go over here and let's piece together this last trade that we made so that we can kind of understand what we were doing. So I'm going to open up the chart a little bit here, right? So you see the chart's open here, and I'm going to pull this up so that you guys can see the candles and the moon indicator. So you see right here on the 10-minute where the 10-minute starts to head up right here, okay? That's where that 10-minute volume starts to head up, and then it's still heading up, right? Now, if we look at the chart, you can see right here that this is the candle that started the move up. And currently it's Lisa 82. All right, Lisa 82. I will try to two-hand this. While we're doing the lesson here. So what I'm going to be doing is using this time frame here to basically start my entries to find my winning trades. So that's what we're going to. And don't forget, guys, if you don't have TradingView, they have an end of summer sale right now that just popped up for me that's up to 80% off. So even if you have a yearly that's halfway through and something pops up for 80% off and you buy another year, it'll just take your half a year and add it. And then when that half a year ends, you get another year at 80% off. So I'm going to definitely explore that option. All right, so let me get to the indicators. I got to add some people here, but do you guys understand that now, I have to develop an entry process for my trades. So I'm going to use the 10-minute time frame, I think, um, to be the, what is it? Volume tracker. It's the volume tracker. There we go. And so we're going to start building our, oh, I don't want that. Our process to the trades that we do. All right, Lisa 82. Go see if that worked for you. All right, so now back to the lesson. So here's where the 10 minutes starts to go up, and then we are still in that current trade to the upside, right? Now we close the trade out because we hit our stop loss, and now normally what's going to happen is there's always going to be pullbacks to trades, right? So for instance, if we go up to a 15-minute time frame, you can see that the 15 minutes going up. So we have to find two processes, right? Like a 10-minute entry and then a 15-minute pullback, right? Which is where it goes up. There's going to be a this is number one move. There's going to be a number two, and then we want to catch number three. So the move that we do will continue to be the same, whether it's on 5-minute, 10, 15, 30, and we will continue to be able to get these trades. And depending on market conditions, sometimes if the market conditions are very low, you need to wait for higher time frame move to happen. If the market conditions are good, you can get in a little bit earlier. But this is something that we're learning as new traders, and we got to kind of see what's happening now. Right now, I feel like we're going to have to use the 10-minute entry with the 15-minute pullback. So we already closed our trade. Now we're going to wait for a 15-minute recycle. Let's take a look here at the 10-minute. I guess I guess we can be using a 10-minute pullback because we did have a push here. Here's our red candle. So here's our pullback, right? Now when this 10-minute pullback's done, then we're going to get in. So the first trade we made is a wave one trade, okay? The second one we're going to get into is going to be the third wave move, right? So we have to figure this out here, and we're going to have to figure out the process of how to find that on Doge, and then which time frame we should use. So that's where we're at now. So we're just going to kind of go through that process. So I'm going to start with the 10-minute. I feel like the 10 minutes going to be our one, and then once we get that, that extra push, so this is where we're going to have to design a a move here. Okay, so this is where once we see a move here, right, because that's our entry down here, we need a wave 2 pullback, right? And we sort of had a middle pullback here, this middle candle, but we didn't really have a 2 or 3 green candles. We want to see at least on a 10-minute 2 or 3 green candles, because we need to see a 2 candles reaching the same volume and then showing depletion, right? So that's why we moved our stop loss up and we closed out that trade, because our entire job is to take what we get, right? We don't hold on to trades. It's called day trading. We have to hit profits, walk away, add up profits until we get what we want. Because right now, Doge is going to pull all the way back and probably pull back all the way back to where it started, right? So this is why it's so important to have, when you start trading, having goals. So our goal, right, is going to always be a 15% stop loss and a 20% target. And when those things hit, then they hit. And that's kind of like how it goes. That's kind of how it goes. So that is when you have a basic foundation like that, you're not guessing, asking, hey, when do I close this? When should I do this? You're following a step-by-step process that you're going to rinse and repeat, and then you're going to tweak and fix the things that you need to fix along the journey. So on this journey, the way I'm setting up here is that I'm going to go with I was doing a 10% stop loss, but I think I'm going to increase it to 15, and I'm going to target a 20% gain. And then I'm going to tweak from there, right? So that's where I'm going to build from there. So that's the trade right now that I'm going to start. Those are the parameters and the boundaries that I have. Those are the basic, the guidelines that I'm going to follow for the trading that I'm going to do. Let me slide this over here so I can read your guys' comments, because I got 5 screens open. There we go. Actually, I can put that over here. And I could just read the phone. That makes so much easier for me. And then I don't have this in my screen, in my face. All right, there we go. Legend, thank you. You're good, Lisa. Welcome to the club. So that's why we closed out, and now there's a short that's coming, right? Now, I didn't announce the short as one of the reward trades because as a new trader, I'm learning the process of these trades. If any of you guys want to jump in the Discord, I am active right now where you can, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can hop in. Or if you see anything, or if there's a coin or something like that. So that's kind of where, this is a journey, and the journey is basically to be like, whose sister is that? Is that yours? George, is that you? Joe, is that yours, sister? I missed all that. I was busy. But okay. So you see how it's dumping right now? That's why we take profits. Right? So we're on this big dump, and it's hitting its entry point again, the support area. If it breaks through the support area, it's going to fall a ton, which would be great because I actually have a short on my other account. And I'll post this after we hit this. But on the journey, I want to keep this very simple. So you see on our 10-minute here, Right. You see there, see how the orange line's heading down? That right there tells us right now that just headed down. You see that orange line right there heading down? That means we're shorting here. That it's going to have that pullback that happened. Now, we're not going to short right now because we haven't developed a strategy to do this yet. Remember, we're new traders here. I'm just learning, guys. You got to give me some time to see this information, and then I have to develop this information into something that I can use over and over. Consistency, right? I can't share the screen on Discord. If you want to go to VC Crypto Nation on YouTube, you can watch it live on YouTube. Discord just takes up too much bandwidth, slows down all the computers. Because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens up. And I've got 2,000 gigabytes. So the internet is not the problem. Most people have 300. I got 2,000. But yeah, you can head over to YouTube. So we're going to break this support line. It looks like it's fighting here. There we go. See that support? So I'm going to show you guys here. I'm going to post in the Discord. We just made 30% on the other account shorting that. And the reason why I'm not calling it out as a trade for everybody is because on the journey, I don't want to be talking about, so right here, you're going to see everybody putting their trades up. You're going to see the short pop up here in a second, free chat. There you go, 34%. And because I want the journey to be as if we're new traders, so we're not going to be talking about switching trades and all this other information because it's not something that would be real for a new trader. Okay, so let's get back to what we are doing, which is as a new trader, I'm trying to develop a strategy and I'm going to use the 10 minutes. So we can see right here, the 10 minutes pulling back. And so the next thing I need here is the next thing I need to hear is to try to figure out how I could get my longs, right? Wolf, what up, baby? That's your sister, Wolf? All right, good, man. Welcome in, sister. Okay. So just so we know, everyone in Discord, you guys did move your stop losses, right? You did follow the steps. We moved ours up to 20%, right? You got to follow the steps. You got to rinse and repeat the steps of success. Yeah, Jeff, I know. The wolf baby. I'm saying that's your sister. So, here's another move down. Right now, let's take a look here and see what we have. So, currently, we are tapping a Fibonacci line, the 2-6, right? So we're still on the lower side of the Fibonacci's, but the Fibonacci's are showing that this should be a reversal area here, right? Because it's hitting that bottom line there. So then more than likely, it's probably going to bounce off this lower line here. But we didn't set an entry on that lower line. So if we were going to do an entry, it would be at this lower line of 8489. So if I went here and I was deciding that I'm going to take this trade, I'm going to have to go to my limits and go to 8489. Set my TP. I don't need to set my take profit, but I can. But I'm going to put ROI. I'm going to do 10%. My profit is going to be 30. And then I'm going to open a long there. And that's how that would look right there. Those are the limit orders. So when you see those green, those dotted lines, right? That top green dotted line is the entry. Right here, this dot green line is the entry if it comes back down. And then this line here is my stop loss. So now I'm going to put this inside of the Discord as a reward trade. So that I can track the trades that I'm taking, because I need to, when you do trades, we're going to do 30x. Oh, is it? And this market is a little bouncy, but okay, 30x, stop loss, 10, target, 30. There we go. So that's what we have. And we're going off of this trade because when we're looking at this trade, did I lose my, where's my Fibonacci's? Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Oh, it's about to hit the entry right here. Okay. So we're coming off of this, and I'm gonna take a screenshot of what I'm using to determine this trade, because I'm right now learning how to trade. So in order to learn how to trade, you have to develop a process that you can do step by step and over and over and over. So we're going to incorporate the Fibonacci's, a 1, 2, 3 move, which is what we're getting right here. We had a push up, we had a big pullback, and then we have a bounce. And then I'm going to use this indicator down here, the moon indicator. Let me bring this up, as a indicator to make entry. So right now I put my entry there, but what I want to start doing is I'm going to go to the 5-minute, and I think I'm going to use these for confirmations. I'm sorry, guys. It's hella hard to trade and teach. We got to do what we got to do. All right. So what I'm going to start trying to figure out is, once I develop a strategy on the 10-minute, 5-minute area with Fibonacci's and 1, 2, 3 moves, I'm then going to use this indicator here, which is called the moon indicator, to find a way to get confirmations. So the process when you build a trade, just so you understand, is you find a trigger, and the trigger is basically when something happens, it lets you know that a possible trade is forming. So the trigger here is a wave up, a push, a pullback, and then the pullback starting to go up. So 1, 2, and then we want to trade the 3. We want to trade the third move, so that we're moving up on the third move. That's the trade we want to get into every time. So that's the trigger. Once there's a move, like there was a big fall, then there was a bounce, then there was the continuation of the fall, and now we're looking for the reversal. So that's the trigger. Once you have a trigger and we know there's a possible trade, now we have to get into a position where once we know that there's a possible trade, now we have to develop the steps of confirmation of the trade, meaning that the trade is possible, and then confirmation that it is a trade that's happening, and then we got to get in that trade, right? So the very first thing is a trigger that starts the trade. Then you need confirmation, and that's where we're going to use the volume indicator to find a time frame and some type of pattern that we can use to basically say that what we think is going to happen is happening. So that's where we're at now. So we have the trigger. Now we need confirmation. I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use the 3-minute volume indicator because I need to catch the move. I need to get confirmation a little bit earlier that something is happening. So I'm going to use the 3-minute time frame for confirmation. So the trigger already happened. There was a big move down, it bounced, it pulled back down, and now we're looking for this next move to go up. So that's the trigger that we're looking for, and that's the trade that we want to catch. So now what I have to do is I have to find confirmation that this trade is happening. So I'm going to use the 3-minute to find a confirmation with this indicator down here. So this indicator down here is going to be my confirmation indicator. So now I'm going to use the 3-minute as the confirmation. So this orange line, you see this orange line right here? See that orange line right there? I want that orange line to start to head up. That would be confirmation that the long is actually doing what it's supposed to do, right? Now, we might have to use a different time frame to get a better confirmation. But after that, we're going to have what we call entry steps, okay? So let me piece that together for you. So we have this written down. You want to write this down. Okay. So first we need a trigger, which is simply a move that creates a possible incoming trade. Okay. Now, once we have that, oh, that thing dumped super fast. We definitely triggered an entry here. Oh yeah, we're in this trade. We should have went with a greedy entry, a stop loss entry like we did on the earlier trade. So I think I'm going to apply the stop loss entry to all my trades moving forward so that I have that extra thing. But we're in a trade, guys, so let's hope we survive. You know, you never know. We're learning here. We're learning, you know, it's exciting. You know, what are we going to do? We're going to win? We're going to lose? We don't know. But we have a process here that basically comes down to we're able to lose 6 out of 10 trades and still make money. Even up to 7. We could end up losing 7 out of 10 trades and we'll still be profitable. So don't forget that. So by having that universal process and that universal law that we're going to follow, we will be a profitable trader no matter what happens. But by doing a greedier entry, we probably wouldn't have got in. But you know, we're trying to master this new concept of trading. So bear with me. I'm new to this. So what did I want to teach you here? Oh, I was posting something. Okay. We are in. Okay, so we are in a trade. Okay, let's get back to the chart. Nothing we can do now. We're in the trade. It's going to do whatever it's going to do. Right? Everybody with me on that? Hit ones in the chat if you understand. Tap them ones. Tap them ones. Are we on the same page here? And don't forget to share the live. Okay. So now we're going to start developing this process, right? So now you have to have, like I said, the trigger that creates an incoming trade. Let me see if I can move this box over. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So it fits in the TikTok screen. Doing a lot of work here for you guys. A lot of work here. I'm going to need to go swimming after this. Take a break. You guys are working me over. Okay. So we're going to have to get a trigger, which is just a move that creates an incoming trade. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to need is the trigger, which is basically that bounce and the pullback. And now what we need is the next step would be confirmation. And confirmation of trade. So that's where we're going to use this volume indicator to get us confirmation of a possible trade. And then we're going to need the entry steps, which is probably going to be on the 3-minute time frame. The confirmation of the trade, we're probably going to have to move up to a higher time frame. So we're probably going to use the 10-minute time frame. And a trigger we're probably going to stay with the 10-minute time frame for the trigger. So this would be the first time that we're trying to design a trade, and now we have some, you know, basic areas of what we're going to use, right? So if we go to our 10-minute and look for a trigger of a trade, we can see here that we did get the trigger of the trade. There was a move from a short to a bounce. The bounce then came down. And then now we're looking to catch this trade, which is after the bounce, the third wave headed up. So that's the trigger. Now we need confirmation of a trade, which is where we're going to need some type of volume, right? So I think, I don't know if the 5-minute or but we're going to have to find a time frame right now that fits the protocol that we want to, you know, that we can use over and over. Remember, everything that we're doing here is we want to rinse and repeat, right? So let's build that out here. Oh, that thing totally dumped. So right now we took a loss on that trade. Let's check. I think the way that dumped, it probably did take a loss there. Yeah, we took a loss there. Okay, so I'm gonna close out this trade as a loss. It's probably gonna go running like crazy right now, but we don't care about that. We're following a process that we have to follow, and we're just tracking the trades. The most important thing here is just to track the trades so that we can piece together the process. So here was the buy, and then here was the close. It's a loss. All right, and that happens. Remember, we're sitting where we could lose 7 out of 10. Now, what I am going to go back is when this trade starts to move, I'm going to see if a stop loss entry would have worked out for us. Because the stop loss was at 8460. So I'm going to go back to the chart here real quick. And that is the stop loss entry right there. See, that entry would have been perfect. Now, the reason why we track the trades and we have to track the results of the trades is because we have to build our strategy, our trade strategy, and our trade structure. Remember, right now we're trading with a 30x leverage. So once we do 5 trades, we'll be able to make adjustments in there, whether we need to go from a 30x leverage to a 20, which will allow our stop loss to get bigger if the stop losses need more cushion. And the reason why we're doing stop loss entries is because we're already giving ourselves an extra cushion. But if we need even a bigger cushion from there, then we will lower the leverage from 30 to 20, which I recommend. I think we should just start at 20 because as a new trader, my skill level is probably not going to be that good, and I should not do a leverage that I can't handle. So I think moving forward, we're going to go with 20x leverage moving forward. Let's go with Michael Jordan. So I'm going to go with 23%, my boy MJ, because I'm from Chicago. So you know we got to ride with the 2-3, baby. So we're going to go with a 23 leverage on all our trades moving forward. We're going to go with a stop loss entry with all the trades going forward. And then once we get those trades going, then we'll be able to get that data and start fine tuning this opportunity, right? So all the trades we're doing right now, we're going to be doing with $100, 200, or 300 bucks. And so probably an average, I'm going to probably do a average of $300 a trade. And then once I get better and I lock in the strategy and I get what I need locked in, then, and I have that working for me, then down the road, I will start increasing to $1,000 trades. Because remember, guys, on this journey, this is how we build a trading strategy from scratch. And I want to teach you the mechanics of the thought process of someone building a trade strategy correctly, because you need to understand the process it takes to do this, because you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. So I want to give you the knowledge that I'm going to be doing on my journey of building my $1 million trading career. I want you to follow along with me so that at the end of it, you can go back and watch all these videos and then build your own $1 million trading career. right? Hit ones in the chat if that sounds like something you want to do. So right now, remember, we're not financial advice. All the trades that I'm making are my trades that I'm making and building. And you got to learn how to trade with me and then make your own decisions, right? Get greedier on the entries. Go even further down below, okay? And then we're going to walk through these trades here. So it looks like, well, this thing's still dumping. So this is a big dumper here. So that stop loss trade probably wouldn't even help us out there. So now let's figure out, now that we know that we have to kind of get better at the trade side, let's build our confirmation of a trade. So what are we going to use to confirmation of a trade, right? So we're going to start with the 10-minute here. So when the orange line starts to head up right here, I got to hop on the, do I want to use 10? Do I want to use 15? All right, let's start with 10. Right, well, 10 time frame is in between. Okay, so in the 10-minute time frame, let's go over here and take a look and do some back testing. Back testing is when you simply have an idea of what you want to do, and then you go back and look and see if that had any success in the past. So here we can see that on the bottom here, the orange is down here, and then there's a breakup from this area up, which is probably where we want to trade in that area up above to get the profits that we're looking for. So on the 10-minute, we need the 10-minute heading up, right? Which means that, and remember, indicators, the lines aren't there until they print. So you have to kind of move your, when you see something go up, you have to move the mouse to the, not the front of the line, but the back of the line, because that's where you would actually see the line is at the end, because that's when it prints, you see the end of the process. Okay, so when the 10-minute starts to go up, we have an opportunity here to do a trade, and then when the line goes way down and starts to head up again, we have another opportunity over here that presents itself as a trade. And that means that we would have a trade here. Oh, that's not what I wanted there. There we go. I'm gonna make these a little smaller on the up part. So here's two areas that just by doing a 10-minute orange line up, 10-minute volume line up, we're going to have a process here that we would have entries on these two moments that happen. And right now the 10-minute isn't, you guys see the 10-minute there? Let me pull that up for you. You see right here? It's still heading down. You see right there? So that right there could be our confirmation that we're still going down. So we can't get into any longs until that starts to go back up for our first step of confirmation of a possible trade. Now remember, after confirmation, then we have to go create the entry steps from the 3-minute to how we enter a trade. So we still have all that going on. Okay, so far, back testing that 10-minute up, it has some possibility. And I'm not seeing a lot of big green moves here. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and look at like another possible confirmation. Because I want to find trades that are just like, when it does something, you know, what they call cause and effect, right? I want to find steps that when it happens, right? So let's back up, because a lot of times when you're thinking and you're building stuff, right, you always forget the rules and the, you know, the things that we have in play. So the number one thing is, and the trade, we have our trade strategy, which is what we're building now, but we also have a trade structure. So inside of, have been shorting since it pumped, bull trap. Roger. So who's up there? El Padrino. What up, baby? So basically, here's what we always have to follow. No matter what happens, as we learn and as we develop and as we build, no matter what happens, we have to know that we're going to lose, worst case scenario, 7 out of 10 trades, which means we're going to win 3. So our very first goal and our very first job here is simply mathematically and systematically understand that with those numbers, where we have to create a system that allows us to be profitable with those numbers. So for instance, if we trade and we make $60 a trade, that means that we are only able to lose half of that, which would be a $30 loss. And we want to lose 3/4 of that, or 2/3 of that, right? So 2/3 of that would mean that 2/3 of 30 would be $20. So that is our base $60 target to win. But every time I lose, I can only lose $20. And how that works is very simple. As I get into the ideal that I know that I'm only going to win 3 trades and I'm going to lose 7, that means that I have to focus on the entry. Remember, it's not about being in a trade. This is Trading 102. This is about what I want to be, which is the best entry. I want to be the greatest entry trader there is. So that means I'm going to take my entries and do stop loss entries, and maybe even more greedy. What that means is the 7 out of 10 trades that I normally lose, by making my entries even more greedier and making them harder to actually hit to put me in a trade, I'm probably going to not get into all 7 losses. I'm probably going to eliminate 3 of those losses, right? So now I'm down to the fact that I'm probably only going to lose 4 trades at $20 each, right? So 4 times 20 is $80, right? And if I win my $60 times 3, that's 180. So minus the $60 that I lost, or we can say our $80 that we lost, that means 180 minus 80 means at the end of 10 trades, or 10 possible trades, we are going to be up $100. So we have done what we needed to do, which was win twice as much as we lose. That's the bottom line. So when you remember, right, you guys, do you understand that? Hit ones in the chat if you understand that. El Padrino, what up, brother? So El Padrino, I'm doing a trade journey as if I was a brand new trader. And I'm going to do a trade journey and walk everybody through as if I was a new trader, and the process of how to build the mindset of a trader, so that you can see how to create a trading process, a trading system, a trading structure, a trading strategy that you can rinse and repeat for the rest of your life and travel the world and enjoy freedom and take care of your family. So instead of teaching you courses or a one trade that I do over and over that you won't understand and eventually change yourself because you need to learn, the only thing that is true is that there's no one trade fit all. Every trader has to be his own trader. Every trader will have his own skill level. So this is how we start from day zero, ground zero, and we build our way up. So if that makes sense, guys, hit ones in the chat. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. So now that what I need to do here is I need to figure out trading zones, right? So I'm going to add to this little list here. I'm going to move this up because as a new trader, I need to know when I should go long and when I should go short. So I need, and I think that should be day one. I think when I start to trade, I need to have trading zones. Up or down. Okay. So now that I'm here trading, I'm thinking to myself, by looking at the chart, I'm saying to myself, man, I can't do longs if we're heading down. I need to figure out when I should go long or when I should go short, right? So how we're going to do that? I think on that scenario, we are going to use the 4-hour and the daily. All right. So let's get that part done. So today, what's up, Robson? Rob, you understand what I'm talking about? You getting it? JP, what up, baby? That makes sense to you, chat? Robson, that makes sense, Rob? What about Lee? Lee, that makes sense? So right now, let's go ahead and start with our trading zone, right? Are we up or down? So we're going to use what's called a 4-hour and a daily. Normally, what people do is you'll see people talk about finding support and resistance of areas that they're going to trade or their day where they're at, right? And normally that consists of using higher time frames, which are normally going to be a 4-hour and a daily, but most of the time it's going to be 4-hour. So we're going to incorporate that in right now. All right, so let's go over to the 4-hour. And I'm only going to use, I'm not going to worry about the candles because what I need to do is I need to use something that I can see every single time. And I can start knowing what direction. So now you see on the time frame here, you see the 4-hour, right? I can see this big chunk of volume and I can see that I've actually been headed down since here. And that orange line is still heading down. So I can see that the 4 hour is still heading down. So I should probably not be trying to do longs right here. So let me put an arrow here when it started to go down. So it started to go down here. And then the blue started to go down here. So you see the blue line up there? This is where they started to head down, right? If I move the arrow to the left here, it's not down right there. It's still going up. But right here, that arrow starts to go. See how the blue line? The blue line starts going down right here. And the orange line if I move that arrow to the left, it's not going down yet. It doesn't print till the next 4 hour candle. And that's where we would start to see the orange line start to go down. So what we're going to start doing, what I'm going to start doing on my journey is I'm going to start trading with the 4 hour as my trading zone. Which means when the blue and the orange line are heading in a certain direction, I'm going to consider that the sentiment of the market or the momentum of the market or the trend of the market. And that is a downward movement right now. Now, what I need to know is when this makes its moves, I need to find a confirmation, which would be another time frame that can work with the 4 hour to kind of give me the information that I need when it's starting to reverse. So that it would probably be a 2 hour. So we're probably going to use the 2 hour as a confirmation of the move to the upside. And when you use an earlier time frame, what we would want to see happen is when the 2 hour starts the reversal, which is the trigger, right? Remember, we need a trigger, which would be the 2 hour starting to go up. And then that's letting us know of a possible trade forming. Then we need to know the confirmation, which would be the trade then starting back down, making its move 1, move 2 down, and then that we're trying to always get into the third move. So so we would use the 2 hour. So let's put our trading zone. We're going to use a 4 hour to go long or to trade, a 4 hour to trade direction. And we will use a 2-hour for or would it be the other way around? So it would be a 2-hour for trade direction, and it would be a 4-hour for trade confirmation. Meaning that the 2-hour blue and orange volume lines will tell us what direction the market wants to go, and the 4-hour will confirm the move that we want to trade with, right? So for example, let's take a look here. I'll show you. So you guys, I'm going to show you an example here and then let me know if you understand it. Okay, so the 2-hour has a blue moon right here. You guys see that blue moon? I just circled it up top there. Right there, that blue moon. And it starts to head down, right? So you see how the orange starts to head down right here? Let me get a little more into this. And I'm going to put arrows to where the 2-hour starts to head down. And I'm going to make that one yellow. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to make it red. Because that is the confirmation of a possible down movement, right? So that would also be here. And it would also be here. And then also here. And this is every time that the 2-hour had a possible move to the downside. And then is it here too? It's also here. These are all possible moves to the downside. These white arrows are the 4-hour confirmation, because these are the basic when the 4-hour actually. So notice here that on the orange line, you see on the time frame, the 4-hour time frame, it's going up. It has a moment here that there is a 4-hour confirmation of a downward move, and then it doesn't have confirmation of that again until it gets to these arrows here. There we go. So these are the 4-hour arrows. These are the 2-hour arrows. And you can see that they have a situation where they both were doing the same thing in this section here. And then they both did the same thing in this section here. The second time they did it is the actual time that there was a short, right? So remember, we're looking for two moves. We're looking for the push, the pullback, the next push, and then the short. So 1, 2, 3, short. So that's what happened here. It pushed up, it pulled back, right? So it push up, they share the pullback, right? So the push up is 1. This section here where these two arrows did the same thing, the 4-hour and the 2-hour moved down. This is wave number 2. That's the pullback. Then it bounced and they started going up together. That created the next bounce. And then on the next time that these two arrows shared the downward movement, that basically would be after the third move up. So move 1 is up, move down is 2, move 3 is the final push. And then from there, there's a reversal. right? So it worked out perfectly there on those two arrows. So now we have an ideal of, does that make sense? Can you guys follow that? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? 2 hour is the moves of the condition of the market. The 4 hour is the confirmation of the trade that the 2 hour is basically telling us, the trading zone that we have. So now that we have that there, this is something that we can use in the future to make our decisions whether we're going long or short, and we can use this every time to confirm the trades. So now if we look at the chart and we bring the candles into these areas, right, we can start to see how this played out on the chart. Here, the 4 hour starts to go up over here. All right, you see how the 4 hour is going up right here? Let me get the little marker. See that right there? Starts to go up. And we have a massive move. The volume goes up. There's a big giant push, right? We actually traded that push and we made a lot of money on that push. But as a new trader, we got to have steps that we follow, right? What up, man? Took my money on a short today. The shorts paid out. You did a short? You should be doing good. But that's where we can see the first push, and this is where we can see what we were talking about, how the 3 steps that happen that we just covered here. So when the arrows meet, so there's a first push, this arrow here. There's the push up to that arrow. There's a slight pull down in that section, and then it keeps pushing until these 2 arrows match up again. And that is where the short started. And if you look at the chart, you can see that this section here is where the short started. Now, it doesn't mean that it just fell off a cliff, okay? Because sometimes when there's volume, it's not going to just fall off a cliff. It's going to go sideways until it dumps, right? Which that is what happened here. And we can see that it made its initial move down from that section, came down, then it bounced, and then this is what we would say, yeah, you gotta wait for that second and third move. Once the first move happens, let's clean this up a little bit, because we want to kind of like make sure that we are all understanding what we're looking at here. Okay, so we can see here that on that second move up, we got a very good pump here where it created a wick here, and that blue box at the top there is the top of that push. Now, once that happens, there's always going to be a move to the downside, and that's the first move to the downside. So move number 1. What happens after move number 1? There's move number 2, which is the bounce, right? And then move number 3 should be where it starts to beat up the floor and start to wanting to move down. Sometimes that move breaks through the floor and it goes on a big run. Or sometimes it falls into a channel, and that channel basically goes sideways, which happened here, right? But eventually, after all the people who were, and all the reason it goes sideways, just so you guys understand, is because people are putting limit orders on those Fibonacci's, limit orders on support and resistance, limit orders on all those things when they come down. Now, that's because the game is to buy at a cheaper price and then sell when it retouches the higher prices, right? So you're kind of like playing the game of available margin. I didn't get that in there. That's crazy. Um, you're playing the game of people having a sell target, and as it drops down from selling, people having a buy target. And a lot of times they end up catching an area where they're selling and buying and selling and buying, and they're making money inside of this parallel channel, or this, we call it a cluster. But what happens is once you get into a cluster, the the trades start to evaporate, because some people put limit orders, and once they hit and they make profits, they're done until the trade, another trade like the one that they just got into, happens again. They don't keep trading the same trade all day long, because once they make their trade and hit their profits, they have goals and targets. A lot of times 15 to 20% of every bounce, the traders are finished. And then as you start to continue to go up and down, eventually all the limit orders of the floor of support disappear, and all the limit orders of sales, when it comes up and it hits the top of the top and it sells in the bottom and they buy, eventually those orders go out of the order book. And if people who, the sentiment, that's why they call it the sentiment of that current moment of whatever market is, Asia, London, New York, or whatever, Tokyo, at that moment, whatever they're feeling like doing, whether putting money in to break out, or they got in really early and they just want to sell off and go down, basically, once it keeps going sideways, it has to make one of those decisions. And if we're using the 4 hour, we could have seen that the volume kept going down, right? So if we are watching this and we keep seeing the volume going down, then we could have came to the conclusion that as it goes sideways, it was going to lose the up battle and eventually dump. So we could have been shorting all what we call short the tops, meaning that every time it jumped and it hit one of these tops here, right? Because it hit a top. It hit a top here, we could have shorted, right? It hit a top here, we could have shorted. Hit a short here. And all the way through this, there was a bunch of times that it hit that top that we could have went short on. You guys see that? Do you guys see what I'm talking about? All these areas that the top hit, and we could have shorted all those areas. You guys see that now? We could have shorted all these tops and made money on the down. Like these trades from these tops. Let me do a short position. So from the top of this red candle down to it where it went, that was a 6% move. See that right there? You see how it says percentages? Let me pull that up. I'll push this up here. So this basically did a 5% short. So like we said, if we're doing normally when you short, you do a 30x. But if we were just doing a 20, that's 100% trade, right? That's 100% trade that we would have made. And any of these, that if we shorted any of these tops or bounces, even this smaller one here, this little section here, this one made 3%. This one, 3%, 3%, right? All the way through. I mean, some of these were 3% to 5%. And then if we would have shorted in this area here, we just had that big dump. That was almost 10%, 9%. So imagine doing a 20x on a 9%. That's 180%. So if you have a $5,000 trade, you just made 180%. So you just made $8,000 on that short. And if you would have done the other parts where you were shorting the tops there, we had the possibility of making 30% on 5,000, so 1,500 bucks 3 to 4 times during that trade. But we would had to have had the information of the trading zone that we were in. And now that we're piecing that part of the puzzle together, we can see that having a trading zone is going to be the best way to trade. What's your question, Ed? Are you on the 2-hour time frame? That was the 4-hour. So that was the 4-hour right there. So now we have a trading zone, right? And that big dip, just so you guys know, if you are trading, you should be looking at that big dip. Anytime there's a big dip, you look for a 1-2 move. So there's the big dip. You look for the push up. And when it comes back down, you buy that next dip and you ride it up. Just so you guys know. So right now, if I was trading like I normally trade, you know, kind of like on that, this for you guys, Ed and them in the Discord. When you see a trade do a big dump like it just did here, and it hits a bottom and it jumps, that's move 1, right? When it comes back down in this area here, that is your buy zone. So you should have been in a long in that area there. Right, so that's a high percentage trade. But I don't want, like I said, when I told you guys when we're doing the journey, I don't want to get too much into making trades based off of knowledge, more about the trading journey, which would be steps that a new trader needs to follow until their skill level becomes intuitive, right? So back to the journey that we're on. I kind of like doing the journey with you guys because it's exciting to, you know, be a new trader, and just build a process of how I'm going to get rich one day, right? How I'm going to make $500,000, how I'm going to make $1 million. It's exciting. I mean, it's really, I like it. I'm going to take $300 and I'm going to turn it into a couple thousand over the next week or two. And then I'm going to be doing $1,000 trades, and those $1,000 trades are going to become $3,000 trades. We're really going to work this over the next couple months to where we, you know, build this up. I can't wait to see what we do, right? So like I said, guys, if you haven't followed yet, go ahead and follow the account up here, VC Crypto Nation. It's the only one that we're going to. I don't have any other accounts. So if you get any messages from any of the accounts, then that's not me, and I will never send you a message on TikTok anyways. If you want to talk to me, head over to the vccryptonation.com, hop in our Discord, and then I'm not going to send you a welcome letter there either. So if anyone ever sends you a welcome letter to anything from VC, it is not me, just block them. If you're going to talk to me, I'm in my Discord, talk in a chat, I'll respond. Everyone will see it. If you get a direct message, not me. Okay, I don't slide into your DMs. Okay. So, I'm married. No, so, let's see. So now we have our trading zone, right? So we're building here, guys. We're coming along here. So trading zone is going to be a 2-hour trade direction. The 4-hour is going to be confirmation of full trade opportunities. And right now, let's take a look at the 2 hour. So far the 2 hour is still showing a downward movement here. So we're still in a downward weak value market. So longs need to be, and the thing about this is, as you'll see as we move forward and we start adding more skills and more tools, we'll be able to identify longs and opportunities in these zones here, um, by different time frames and different things. But right now, the 2 hour is still heading down. So we're still in the ideal that this is probably still a short market. So right now we just can't go long, right? So now I know the way this is playing out is that I can't do any longs here until the 2 hours at least heading up. So longs are gone for me right now. So here's what we're going to have for the day to day. We're going to kind of close out here a little bit. Is I'm now realizing I need to have trading zones. So my trading zone is going to be a 2 hour trade direction. So whichever way the 2 hour is going, and then I'm going to use the 4 hour as confirmation of that direction, meaning that if the 2 hours heading up and the 4 hours heading down, I'm going to, make sure that I'm looking for the wave 1 and a bigger wave 2 pullback. And then once the 4 hours starts to go with the 2 hour, that's probably going to be on a third wave somewhere. But that's where I'm going to, if I'm in a trade, I'm going to give it a little more room because the 4 hours should be pushing harder up, making me more profit. So as we go through this, I'm going to take the time to kind of explain what I'm looking at. But the process, I guess, would be explained that I'm going to wait for the 2 hour for what direction I should be trading. And then once that direction is going, I'm going to look for a big move up, a big pullback. And then when that pullback happens, when the 4 hour starts to head up, is where I would be looking to find a support area to get a solid entry position and then ride up that bigger momentum on the 4 hour time frames and 6 hour time frames versus the 1 hour or the 2 hour or the 15-minute. So that is where we're at right now, is developing that process, right? So then we can execute that and move forward. So right now, we're just waiting for the volume to kind of like kick in here, and the 2 hour it's not headed up yet. So once this 2 hour heads up, we're going to look for a move up. Then when that move pulls down, that's the long we want to take, because that'll be the third wave. And then we should get the 4 hour trading into that move, which will give us the volume that we want. Currently, does that make sense? So that's the steps that I just want to, every day, I want you guys taking notes, and every time we do a video, it's going to be about a specific step, a process, why we have that process, why we pieced it together, why it works, why we're using it, because these are the steps that once we get down the road, we're going to have these steps all pieced together, and we're going to be making trades where instead of winning 3 out of 10, we're going to be winning 6 out of 10, and 4 of the losses won't even happen because our trades will move our stop losses up. So we'll get to the point where when we make 10 trades, only 2 of them will have negative losses, maybe none, but we'll see down the road. But these are the steps we have to take to build the process to get what the tools built that we need in order to be successful at the game that we're playing. So that's today's lesson is, okay, trading zones. Now that we have trading zones, we'll know which direction markets are going and how we should be trading them. So, so that's today's process. So 2 hours is the direction, 4 hour is the trade, the big 3 wave that we want to get into. So that's the lesson for the day, guys, for today. That we're going to now moving forward, that will be in every single trade we make. We will be, first of all, starting with a 2 hour, then the 4 hour to decide what direction and what trade we're doing. Currently, everything is heading down, which means we would be setting up to short tops and look for short positions on that. And you'll see tomorrow we're going to take this strategy of the 2 hour and the 4 hour. And then what we need to do with that is we need to then decide, okay, if these are the directions of the market and it's going down, then the next thing we need is back to our trade strategy, right? What triggers a trade? What, all this stuff down here. What triggers a move? Let me put this over here. What trigger a move that creates a possible incoming, then the confirmation of what we're going to do, and then the entry steps that we're going to use to make that trade. So now we can go back to these 3 things. Now that we have a trading zones, now we know whether we should be looking for longs or we should be looking for shorts. But that's where we're going to kind of like piece together our the trades that we're building that day. So that's where we're kind of at now. So that's how this is how you get yourself to these magical moments in trading where you kind of piece together a strategy, an ideal or something, and you're like, oh, the mindset of building a trade, the mindset of creating this, because that's really what it comes down to. And we're always looking for the reversals, because when you get to a bottom, the bottoms are normally, you have a high. Remember, the number one goal besides winning $180 on 3 trades and only losing $80 when we lose on all our 7 trades, the next thing is finding the best entry, right? That's the game that we're playing. The game is the greatest entry. So we're developing that process. That's the goal. That's the only goal, to get the greatest entry by following the same steps. So that's where we're at, and we're starting to piece those layers together. And you can see right here that we have a 1 hour, and the 1 hour is heading down, and it looks like it's about to create a blue moon. So if it creates that blue moon, that should create more momentum to the downside. Like you'll see a blue moon pop up in this area here. It'll be a blue moon. And that's going to tell us that we're going to have a bigger pull down. And that's, so right now we should be shorting, which means these bounces that are happening right now, we should be shorting these tops, right? So it would kind of look like this. And I'm just thinking, like, what I'm looking at is that these tops right here, those should be the moments that we are actually shorting. Yeah, we should be shorting into these tops right here. See how these tops are? So here's a bounce. Here's a bounce. Here's a bounce, right? But everything on what we're just what's up, VC? Who that? Who that? Let me pull you up, baby. Triple breaks. What's up, baby? Yo, did I hit an autograph yet, dog? So we should be shorting these tops. I'm doing good, brother. How you doing? You got the I think you're mailing out a bunch of. You know what you can do is on the breaks when I do like back-to-back days, you can just wait and put 3 of the breaks together if you want. So guys, you see how like now that we have a trading zone and we know that the 2 and the 4 hour are heading down, then we know that we should be shorting the tops. So we should be waiting for these things to bounce, and then when they bounce, we should be entering shorts here. Like right here, you see how that has a little a red S right there? That's because I just entered a short there, right? Because that's kind of like I wanted to show you what it looks like when you short the tops, right? Shorting the top means that you short when the trade bounces. So here's the first big bounce. Right, here's the second one, which is what I want, right? Because there's a 1, 2, 3 move. The third is always the biggest. So that's the one I want to get into. And then I could see right here, that's kind of in the same zone. And this is the short that we should be running. And I guess this would be the target right there because I guess that would be support 84.05. So I guess I could do my 10% negative. And then what's it, 84.05? And then I'll target this right here, 84.05. What does that come out to? So that's 20%. So I'm doing a 20% target, and I have a 10% stop loss. I'm still doing a 30x, which is okay because 30x on a short, shorts are a little bit better. Oh, I don't have this. Let me pull this into your... There you go. So from this area up here, I should be shorting down 20%. That's the goal and the target for this trade. And then my stop loss is my 10%. So willing to lose $30 to win the 60. So let's see how we play out here. And then like I said, I'm going to take a screenshot here. I'm going to save this. This is going to go into the 102 journey. Where is the journey at? Those are the videos. The journey for okay. Testimonials. So let's create a folder here called Journey Trades. Perfect. So I'm going to do here is the ones that I'm not calling out for the Discord. I'm just going to put these in here because I need to track these trades as I'm piecing together the steps that I'm building for my strategy. There we go. So I'm going to take a snapshot of this so I know what I'm doing. Why I'm doing it. And I need to know if we're hitting our targets. And we need to fix the ones and make this better. So there we go. Yeah, what's up, Triple Break? This is it is really interesting. You know, so we can like, you know, we can do a lot in this. So this is kind of like, I'll show you guys right now what I'm doing is called a journey, which is simply I'm trading like a new person with nothing. I'm building trade strategies from scratch. But here, you know, so, you know, you can take some losses here. It's okay. But we're going to have our wins here. You know, same as anything, you go up and down, and then we have a 74% win, 16% win. So we can make 500 bucks. Here's 500 bucks in 500 bucks, 200 bucks. That was a $700 day. He's trading. This is a big bag. His stop loss is normally 20%, but he should be he's doing great. But he's made $5 grand in 2 weeks. But you know, when you see a 20% loss, that's $1,000 bag. So he's getting up to $1,000 bags. It's exciting, you know. Here's your 25%. So yeah, here's a trade right here. So this was our last week. We did $2,300 last week, $2,000 the week before. So yeah, now let's get back to the trade because remember we're looking for a short. So let's see how we do here. Here we go. We're getting our breakdown. So right now, remember we're trading with 2 hours being our direction, 4 hour for our reversals. And right now, I think we're still in the down, right? Yeah. So the 1 hour is still heading down here. And then if we can get this 1 hour blue moon here, if this hits a moon, we can get a big jump here. We can get a big dip. So far right now, the confirmation of the 2 hour down, 4 hour down is kind of working. What I would like to add there is probably, now that we have a trading zone, we need to develop the next time frames where we would be creating the entries, right? Which I think, let's go to the 10-minute, right? So I think what we're going to do here is we'll use the 10-minute downs as the entry places, right? So you see right here, you see how the 10 minutes starts to head down right there? That is our entry position, which would have been that candle up there. This candle up here. So I think we'll use the 10-minute for the 2 hour is the trade sentiment. The 4 hour is confirmation of full direction. And then the 10 minutes will be used to grab the trades. So the 10 minutes is going to be the trade scenario that we use and execute. So we should have been trading off of this top candle, which means we should have been in this short somewhere around 8557. I think we got in at 8448. So we need 8557. 8557. Which should have been more over here. Oh, we should have been up here. 85. What was our short? Our short would have been off this trade here. 85, right? Yeah. 8547. Yeah, so okay. Now we're starting to put. So let me, before I move on, because I know sometimes I see what I'm seeing and I'm piecing it together a lot faster. But here's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the Doge. I'm looking at the 10-minute time frame. And right here is where I'm looking, where you see this area right here. This is where the 10-minute started to go down. See where I just circled? Okay. That would have created the down on this arrow here. I'm going to turn it blue. Which would have been this red candle right here. And on that red candle, we had an entry of 8547. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so you see it. 8547. You see it now? So that's where we should have got into this short. So if we go to our current entry, now that we're kind of piecing the steps together using the 10 minutes, 8547. This is where the short should have got in. We should have got in way up here. And if we do that correctly, and we got into that short right there, on this dip, we went down to a 1.88 move. And it's currently sitting at a 1% move, which is where we want to be, because if we're doing a 30x, that was a 30% trade and a 50% trade. So on a 30% trade on 5,000, that's $1,500. On your 10,000, $3,000. If you catch that 50% on 5,000, 2,500. On 10 grand, 5,000. So this trade would have worked based on the trading zone and then using the 10-minute as the entry time. So this is this is what they call back testing, so that you can see where these things are happening. So now that we have those steps of 2 hour down direction, 4 hour with it, 10-minute tops, short the 10-minute tops into 1% moves using a 30x leverage for the short, we're looking for 1% to 2% moves to take 30 to 50% gains on every one of those moves. So that is our trade. So I'm going to go back to the chart. I'm going to write this down because this is going to be a strategy which we just came up with. Okay. So strategy That makes sense, guys? That makes sense to you? Is this making sense? So strategy number one. We've got our first moment here, our first aha moment. So it is a short, and then it is on the 10-minute tops. Now I don't need to put in the rest of it, right? Because the rest of it would be this, right? The full short would be 2 hour and 4 hour down. And then the short or the entry would be on the 10-minute tops. Does that make sense? So 2 hour and 4 hour are down. Use the 10-minute bounces to grab the tops to short. So hit ones in the chat if that makes sense for you guys. So that is a strategy now that we're going to use. I'm going to keep the strategies on the bottom in the moon indicator so that we can practice them and apply them as we move forward. So far, tonight, this morning, tonight, I say tonight, I never ever sleep, but I guess it's 9 a.m. my time. So it's noon in New York. So happy noon, guys. I mean, happy lunch. I haven't been to, I'm going to go swimming now. Well, what time is it? 9. So I'm going swimming. I don't even know what, I think I'd got to wake my wife up in 2 hours. I don't think we're swimming today. I think we're going to go, I don't know, I'll probably go get a foot massage, get some hot stones, get my feet rested. And then get a good lunch. So that's in 2 hours. But what we've done today is we've come up with our first trade strategy, which is nice. Yeah, Mike, not less. That's right. It's nice. It's nice. What we did today was very nice. Nice. We did it. Can we get a round of applause? It's nice. Yes. Watch this. No hands, guys. Ready? Can we get a round of applause? Applause. It's nice. Oh, your son moved to San Jose. Yeah. So what we were able to do today was we were able to let me know if you understood what we did today. We were developing why we won a trade and why we lost a trade. So we won a trade today and we lost a trade today. But we won twice as much as we lost, so we're up. But more importantly, we're developing our trade strategies. So today we realized that in order to avoid the loss, we need trading zones. So he's designing chips. Yeah, I love to meet your son. I'm in Vegas, bro. I'm in Vegas. Maybe you guys can come down and we can spend some time. I always thought you were out of the country, bro. Where you at, man? What state you in? Everybody put their states down there. Where y'all from? So what we did today was, oh, you in New Jersey. New Jersey. So what we did today was we won a trade and we lost a trade. Once you make a trade and you do a trade, Delaware. That's too tree up in Delaware, bro. That's too many trees, Woofy. That's too many. That's a lot of trees out there. There's a lot going on out there. Um, you know, it's not just the trees because I'm from Chicago. We have a lot of trees, but in Delaware and all that, it's like y'all got a lot of like old ass forest, like like hills and mountains and people missing in that shit. That's some old shit out there. All right, so all right, all right. So when you win a trade by following steps, and when you have to get the information, when you lose a trade, you have to get the information, and then our goal on this journey that we're doing is I'm going to evaluate every single trade, and then we're going to figure out how to improve our skills together from day one and improve our trading steps. So today was a big day. So you can go ahead and cheer. And can we get some cheers? It was nice. And what we want to do here is that we're going to evaluate each trade and then work on steps to make to understand why the trade did what it did, whether it won or it lost. More importantly, probably the most important part is why something loses, and then evaluate how to improve what we did. So today, after we lost our trade, we went back and realized that we didn't have trading zones to tell us whether we should be going long or short, or what the current market condition was giving, or the current sentiment of the market, was it up or down. So we've decided to go with a 2 hour time frame to find the direction of the market, and a 4 hour time frame to confirm what direction we should be trading in. Now, once we have that down, now we were able to create a strategy for shorting, which is a 2 hour and 4 hour down. And then entry would be when the 10-minute bounces up on volume and we short the top and we short that down. And that allows us to get a 1 to 2% move, which with a 30x leverage would be us targeting 30 to 50% gains. And then while we're only losing 15 or 10 to 15%. So that's what we accomplished today in the journey that we're taking into becoming a $1,000,000 trader. So I'm very happy with the steps we were able to get done today. And now Benny wants a snack. Benny hungry, babe. You better feed that boy. Give him some of that protein, man. You know them boys, they need protein nowadays. Get that kid some protein shakes. You know, about a 6'9" point guard out of Delaware. You know what I'm saying? They give me some NBA tickets and shit. That's what I need, bro. That's the gift I like. Like them gifts. I like them NBA tickets. Y'all got season tickets? Football, basketball, let me know. I'm in Vegas. Y'all got tickets? Let me know where you got tickets to. I'll go check it out. Um, but yeah, so now we've got some processes here. So a very successful. I think it's day 4. Very successful. I need my oxygen. That's my problem. I don't have my oxygen pills. So if you guys are out there trying to get healthy, you definitely want to pick up some of these right here. Check this out. This is called Cell Food. CELL Food. And it's just oxygen pills. So if you guys get yourself some oxygen drops, right, you just drop it in your water. And oxygen is very important. So what oxygen does, just so you guys know, it keeps cancers away, gives you energy, does a lot. Do your research. And learn if you're I like to order water, so I do a lot of water ordering. but I drink a lot of not purified water, but the other water, not purified, but clean. Okay, so that's what we did today, guys, and now we have a process. Um, liquid oxygen drops. It's good for a lot of things. Do a little research. All right, so yeah, I'm happy with day 4 here. I think this is day 4. I'm gonna go tag this video and put it in the Discord. I think it is. Let me go into the Discord and see the 102 Journey folder. What's the date? 26? I thought we were on yesterday. Yeah, so this is day 4. So day 4. Yeah, dude, water, bro. That's 90% of your body, big dog. That's your whole life. You got to be drinking that, pH balanced, oxygen water. There's all types of water you need to be drinking, man. Not the regular shit, not the shit that kills you. You need to, that's your body. So this is day 4 here. So we did good today. Day 4 today. I'm all over. Yeah. Yeah, day 4 today. We came up with some good stuff here, right here. Yeah. Yeah, day 4. Day 4, finding a strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video because we'll be popping off here. But I just want to check the trades real quick. Okay, so far this trade is humming along. We're up 5%. You see down here, we're up 5%. And we're heading towards our target. So there you go. We're up 5%. I think we're at a $300 trade, so we're up 15 bucks. Okay, now what I like to do is when I have this type of moments here, you see how it's breaking down right there? Now my stop loss is at $30, right? I'm going to move my stop loss now that I've kind of fought through this trade and it hit the top a few times. I'm just going to go ahead and move my stop loss to the top of these areas where they were rejecting. Just in case if it does, for some reason, there's a giant buy at this point and it takes off. I don't want to lose 30 bucks. I'd be better off losing, slightly above the top of these current moments here. We're at 7% right now. So I would only lose 16 bucks here. That's part of one of the tricks of, because remember, if we're losing an average of 30 bucks a trade, and we can do that 7 times and still be successful. If I can eliminate some of those $30 and cut them to 15, that's like two of those trades. If I do that, that's like eliminating 1 loss. So instead of 7 losses, I only lose 6 by doing that. If I can get it to break even, instead of losing 7, I've only lost 5. So there's little tricks here to eliminate how much you lose. The whole point of the game that I'm playing is lose very minimum, break even. I'm actually want to get to the point where whenever the trade does what it's supposed to do, I want to win. I never want to see a red position. I want just every single time. See how I slightly move this into above break even, or where I got into the trade. You see that now? I've just now moved my trade now that it's actually falling. This is the entry line, and now my stop loss is on the other side, which means I'm in profits only $5. But the point is, I don't. My goal is to be the best futures trader that ever did this, and so I want to execute every trade, and every trade I want to win something, 5, 10. Like I want to win 1, 2%, 3%. I want to win an average of 5. I never want to lose a trade where I'm in the red. I want every one of my trades to always be 5% plus. That's my goal. So I've just moved my trade into that area. So it's a 5% move right there. So when I go look at my position history, you never see a red. Like it's just all going to be all green. That's my goal. That's my goal. All green. That's what I want to do. So that's why once I get into these, once I see a big move like it just did, I move my stop loss into entry. And if it goes up and hits it and then dumps, like, I'm not going to get mad about it because I did what I wanted to do, which was I closed in green. So when the position history comes right here, the position history, it will just be green. Right? That's it. That's all. I just want to see green position history. No more. I don't want reds. So now I've moved my stop loss into a very small profit, but it looks like we're going to go ahead and hit our target here. So you can see we're getting close, guys. We're getting close. So I think this new strategy we just came up with today is on point, and we're going to, I think we're going to be able to like do shorts with it, and then we're going to be able to clean it up and make it even better. But so far so good. It looks really easy, really simple. That's really what I want to do, is I want to create trades that are really easy and really simple, and then I can just rinse and repeat and then improve them to get even more. Look at that dump. So you see how it's dumping right there? You see? Now what I can do is I can move my target down, and I'm going to move my stop loss down, right? So now I'm going for $80. I'm putting my stop loss at into the profit area of $29, $28, $29. And what I'm really doing here is based off these candles. So this was the last high that candle went. And the next wick, this is a big wick. This one's way up here. So I don't know if I can get my stop loss that high. So what I did is I put my stop loss in between these two levels. And I'm just going to accept that it is what it is. I'm either going to stop out at $31 or I'm going to stop out at $80 profit, which is that next green line right here. So I can get to here. There's my $80 trade. No matter what, my stop loss is set at 30. This is a successful trade. Very beautiful. I think this strategy is going to be something that we can rinse and repeat pretty heavily. And so far, I like what I see. I'm making money. I'm making money. Yeah. Success. Success. Yeah, that's nice. That's what we're talking about. Them cheers, baby. Gotta get them cheers. Gotta get that boom, boom, bow. Boom, boom, bow. Yeah, there we go. So do you see how we did that, guys? Hit the ones in the chat if you understand how we made that short, how we came up with that short trade, and now we literally executed the short trade. And then if I'm looking at all these other things, I mean, I can see right here that a lot of these trades are actually all starting to head down. This might get a little ugly here. Yeah, so I put that in the journey trades. But yeah, so I'm going to close out on that, dude. Successful trade, stop loss moved into profits. The strategy worked. We're going to build on this strategy together, guys. So you have a good day. Go spend a little time with the fam, feed the dog, walk the wife. That's us hitting our moment. Let me go ahead and close this out. That was the little, it jumped right there. It is what it is. Position history. We ended up with an 8%. It is what it is, but it is not a loss. I'm going to throw it in there. That's our close. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay. Now what I was looking at was, is the two hours still heading down? Yeah, so yeah, it all worked out. So that's how we build, guys. Yeah, you got to show. So Shogun, is it like daily and 12-hour are down, only the weekly? Is it starting to make a little sense, Shogun? Yeah, we do. I want to walk through this. So you see this jump here? Normally when you see this pump here, you could short this top again, and now here's another short opportunity that we could get into here. If we were looking